National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndungu has dismissed claims in the country's credit rating will dip owing to a decision by the Finance Action Task Force to list Kenya as one of the countries with weak anti-money laundering systems. The CS, who appeared before the National Assembly Public Debt and Privatization Law Committee, says Kenya found itself on the global grey list owing to queries on its slow pace in strengthening key institutions and also implementing laws to safeguard against money laundering and terrorism financing. Abdi Aziz Hashim has the details.
Barely a week after Kenya found itself in the global watch list for failing to safeguard against money laundering,
the medium-term debt management strategy.
Cabinet Secretary for Treasury Njuguna Ndungu was before the National Assembly Committee on Public Debt and Privatization.
Remember in 2009, 2010, I fought very hard. Kenya was going to blacklisting, not even grey listing. To blacklisting.
The CS had a hard time explaining to the legislators how Kenya ended up on the global grey list.
The whole issue is that this is a new administration in transition, and with your support, we made 17 amendments to the law. But now, the shortfall now is the implementation process and strengthening our institutions.
Njuguna dismissed fears that this could affect the country's credit rating in the global arena.
But also, in terms of our credit rating, that may not worsen the credit rating. Because essentially what we're really saying is that it is the institutional DNA that is being questioned. How do we move with speed? There was an earlier question you said, were we rushing to the Eurobond because of the grey listing? No.
Further, he informed the MPs that Kenya had already reached out to bilateral and multilateral partners to seek a solution, a revelation that elicited queries.
But we are on observation to make sure that we crawl back and move away from the grey listing. By the way, some of the countries that are even providing us with bilateral support are also in the grey list.
On the question of Eurobond,
what we did at that particular time was very appropriate because risk was actually building up and cost of risking also was building up. The waiting option was coming in. In fact, if you look at our foreign direct investments, you'll see that they had gone to zero. So essentially, they were being driven by this waiting option. And so dislodging the market from this waiting option was very important.
Abdi Aziz Hashim for Prime Edition.